Welcome everybody to this week's amazing DevRel AMA, which is going to be a very prestigious event. As you may have noticed, one of the key pillars of these AMAs, Max, is missing this week. He has some important stuff to do, which Alexia mentioned before the call. So he will not be joining us. So two notes, slightly or like a bit related to that. One is that we're going to only be addressing questions that the three of us know the answer to. As you know, Max is one of the oracles of Nym. So we may not know all the answers to all the questions. That's one thing. And also we got a lot of questions from you already before the call. So huge thanks for those. But we're only going to be addressing technical development related questions unless they are very, very good and just general project related questions, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to go through all of them. Now, one of the staples of DevRel AMAs, especially since we haven't had one of these for like 6 weeks now, I think. It's been a while.
6 or 4. I think just 4, no?
It was 6 weeks for me for sure. I'll be honest here.
It's been a while. It's been summer. It's been crazy summertime and all of that. Sick leaves, holidays, all of that kind of stuff. So can any of you give a quick rundown of what happened on the dev front over those past six weeks or so?
I can do just like a recent one, and we can probably like be filling each other. There is gonna be more like, there's this one like obviously, so we're gonna be like a crew who does like more like a freestyle rap. Like, yeah, we've trained before, we do that every day, but at the same time, like, the scenery is not here. As probably many could have seen, we changed slightly a bit of a naming of our releases, which got this funky Dutch chocolate bar name now. I got a positive feedback on that. I was saying, I'd like,
I think Murph likes them.
Yeah, Murph likes that a lot, so it seems like a Turkish community likes that. I was saying I like more like 100% chocolate, but for a name that might be too dark, kaboom, that's a joke in there. There's also negative feedback on the fact that
Nick is asking when sneakers. I think pretty soon, Nick.
So these are devs' decisions, right? People are like, oh, I'm looking for Fair, I'm looking for Snickers. Now we're on KitKat, so you gotta deal with that, unfortunately or thankfully, I don't know. But there's been critiques, and those are very good, that the release labels aren't always actually merging what is happening, and then there's been problem because of some hotfixes and how kind of like the versioning starts to become odd. We are aware of that, and so from next week onwards, the naming will be such as year dot number of the version dash and just a naming of the version such as a chocolate bar. So you can imagine next week it could start with 2023.1 dash Snickers. Here you go. So the versioning of each binary will increase as it currently does, and we'll try to like merge that and have also the lock being actually mirroring on what's happening, and stop to have this mess, which indeed is confusing and come out as unprofessional. So we want to fix that. This was really good feedback from some of you, and we thank you for that. There's been also steps being taken, and even though there's summer and people been on holidays, there's been a lot of steps taken towards the VPN side of things, which we've been talking about, right? Our product, which will ensure economic incentives and privacy together at the same time. Economic incentive for operators and better privacy for the world and the humanity, which at this hour is rather needed. So there's been a lot of steps the core team has been taken.
Yeah, in fact, if I'm...
Go on.
I just add something quickly? Okay, cool. Yeah, so in regards to the VPN, the only thing that I want to point out is that it's still a work in progress, because I was having a discussion like an hour ago with Pontlake in regards to this, and he brought up like really interesting points, but it's just like nothing. I mean, it's still something that we're working on. Nothing is set in stone. We're still like redefining a few things. So still open to ideas, suggestions, if you guys have some, of course, and don't desperate if you see that some things may not make sense at this stage, basically. Serenko, back to you.
We've shared a bit behind the scenes in the latest blog post about how does the most powerful VPN in the world looks like. Particularly what is Project Smoosh, right? Which is undergo now. There's been the note about our CTO, Dave, and Chief Scientist, Claudia, brought this name as doing Smoosh, that Nym nodes basically can be coded in a way that they can alternatively work as mixed node, gateway, or a VPN node in the future product, rather than each node is just one thing and one thing only. There is a setup where the network requester act as proxy right now, and they make requests to match, the allow list. We will also change that from our list into denylist, right? So that's going to be a big change, which also brings some legal question. It brings us a little bit closer to some of the questions our project and the team around that has been dealing with on legal side, also on technical side. And that's something we focus on discussing a lot, because that will bring a lot of advantages, but some things to tweak up for the operators and for the whole community, as well as for the developers, of course. Maybe if you want to add something, Alexia, here.
Yeah, actually, in regards to Project Smoosh, thanks so much for introducing it. Just to give a little bit more like context or like details to the community, the idea of Project Smoosh is to simplify the way in we approach our nodes, right? But it will be tackled in different steps. So as far as I get it, the first step is to smoosh together gateways, network requester. The ultimate plan is to smoosh together that gateway, network requester, and the first mixed node, and then last mixed node, gateway, and network requester. So simplifying the way in which, the messaging goes through the mixed set and enters it and exits it.
Wow, that was quite the update. Do we need Max anymore, actually, on these AMAs? Should we just ditch him?
I don't know. No, I mean, there's also been
I miss Max.
work, which I do too.
We're just getting normal.
Yeah, exactly. There's also been ongoing work in regards to the website, which you must have seen. And then we have, on the SDK front as well, like a lot of updates. Max has been putting out a tutorial, step-by-step tutorial part 1 for the Rust SDK. And I am actively working with one other dev on the TypeScript SDK, and it should, fingers crossed, be out in about 2 weeks, hopefully, just right in time for a team retreat.
There's a few last things in heading towards our main product, the VPN. So you probably can see in few last versions, I don't remember when exactly it was introduced, but if you open your NymConnect application, you click on the menu, go into privacy level, there's something called Speedy Boost. And you can activate that option, and it literally says the connection speed will be relatively faster in exchange for relaxing some privacy protections. So what it means is that we are testing in NymConnect app the usage of this particular feature, which can be part of the VPN product, where the user can go more towards, there's always this choice, this trade-off between the speed and privacy, but we're trying to figure out how to make it like that there are actually things which you still want, like a default solid anonymity set and what have you. You don't want to turn it off just because it doesn't work, or use it only for a few applications, as we talk about system-wide solution for the entire internet. Of course, this trade-off will be needed. So NymConnect has been testing this feature, and we also welcome any feedback on that and doing a lot of metrics and measurements. And last but not least, and then I'll finish so we actually can't ever get to any questions. You open a can of worms, Sudo, telling me that I should be bringing updates, by the way.
I apologize.
Yeah, that's on our documentation side. Since it's been quite some weeks, I'm not sure we actually spoke in this AMA about the fact that we have nymtech.net/operators, entire new book with simplified.
We didn't know. No, I don't think we did. I think you should.
Yeah, which basically is a beautiful example of Max and the two of us here, because there is a lot of obvious info which he put incredible work into, but through the trees couldn't see the forest anymore, and then became a bit of fresh eyes and energy and time, and kind of like, okay, let's take the best out of that and put our feedback and community feedback in it. A lot of their issues and the PRs being brought up in past months are also implemented in that. There's a new theme. Besides that, in /developers in the dev portal, we are spinning up a new FAQ part, and also there's gonna be actual legal forum, like a community legal forum in the operators. So it's gonna be more related towards the Project Smoosh, the type of like exit nodes questions, which Torvald was dealing with, which is our gateway situation, right? So there is a lot of these new things in our books in /docs, /developers, and /operators. That's, I think, about all.
All right, at this point, I'm questioning whether I'm necessary on this call at all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm always necessary. I'm very much needed. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah, you're the center of that call, Sudo.
Thank you. I know. I'm in the center of everything. I'm just joking, guys. I'm not that narcissistic, by the way. So that brings us to the first community question today, which is from San Francis. How it's nice to see you again, friend. The question is, it's actually multiple questions in one, but they're good ones. So how secure is the Nym wallet, and can we integrate it with a hardware wallet? This is something that he's been asking for quite some time, and that's because I believe he was a victim of a hack at some point and lost some funds. So it's a very legitimate question. What can we answer?
Sarenka, you want to take it or should I?
All of a sudden, it's so quiet in here. I was making this joke. I don't know if you've been in Maurice on my talk where I was like talking. And I was like, who knows a deep stuff about like who runs here a Tor exit relays and who knows a lot about the Tor network. And so many people raise hand that I made a joke like, okay, I'm going to make sure we're not going to get into any questions. You're going to grill me in here. That's how I feel now. I remember when we talked about last time that this is not on priority list for the devs because the amount of work to put out the product we just talked about, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not like you can, I mean, it's a little bit more complex than that. It's not necessarily like you're going to have a direct integration between the Nym wallet and another hardware wallet, but it's more like you can integrate a hardware wallet, aka like Ledger, with the Nym Mixnet through something like Wallet Connect, for example. And we've had someone called Raul who actually worked on an initial implementation of it, which we still need to test and make sure, like, there's nothing from a security perspective that's problematic, and basically update the packages that he's worked on an NPM. So it could technically be done, and this is something that we want to do. Basically, the idea would be for us to integrate the Nym Mixnet through, two different Web3 wallets through Wallet Connect, basically leveraging the Nym Mixnet through a bunch of infrastructure. And it's actually a really good question because it's something that I guess we'll be talking about extensively during our team meeting. How do we take the Mixnet sort of to the next level kind of thing? Integrating it within infrastructural projects makes sense for us.
That's an answer actually to a different question. That's a question about like mixed wallet integrations, and what San Francisco is asking about is integrating the Nym token into a hardware wallet.
Oh, token. Sorry, I heard the Nym wallet. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, because he also asked how secure.
Okay.
Yeah. So my 2 cents on this is that how secure is the Nym wallet? Well, we did pass multiple audits, so we're good on that front. But of course, we're always looking to improve security. Security is very important, so we do the best we can on that front. And then integrations with hardware wallets. Harry mentioned it here and there, and also some other people from the team. If you followed our Telegram chats closely, that we are in talks with various hardware wallets. But like Sarenka mentioned, it's our priority right now with all the stuff that's going on at Nym. Guys, we're just about to start a revolution by releasing the most private VPN-like product the world has ever seen. That takes quite a bit of effort. So once that happens, we can move on to projects such as integrating the Nym token into a hardware wallet.
Speaking of wallets and tokens, I would just like add a little bit that there's been talks on perhaps a bit higher on the priority list to make the swap in the wallet directly possible or bridging, right? If I'm correct.
Yes. I'm very happy about that because I've been working with the Nym community for almost 2 years now. And ever since the Nym token was released, the bridging and the friction that provides and the terrible process that it was to bridge your tokens on Gravity Bridge has been one of the main pain points of the community, like overall. And it is going to be fixed very soon. So that's pretty huge news. Super happy. So for context, guys, you will be able to swap between ERC20 and native Nym tokens without using Gravity Bridge pretty soon. So that will also happen this year, which I think is really good news. All right, moving on to our next question from Investor. Nice name. So hello, DevRel. What are the latest updates on the development of the Nym project and goals for the upcoming year? I guess we already addressed quite a bit of depth the latest updates on the development front. So maybe we should talk about the goals for the coming year. Do you guys want to take it?
A lot of those will be, we're going to have actually a physical meeting not too long ahead, which we work remotely for, our hybrid to say better. And as you can see, the team's growing, so it's quite a few people. So we're going to meet in one place, and I think this is going to be one of the main topics of the talks. I'm still within kind of first months in here, so I would actually not dare to answer this question at large, but once we get the VPN spinning, then there'll be the big goal is to bring side to side to that. And that's perhaps more of a DevRel kind of question for me, like a task to make sure that the nodes, their number and the regions where they are positioned is growing to the places where we are perhaps not represented the most. So not to only get like spin some like blunt number somewhere, but also see and make incentivized through delegation programs and stuff to ensure that the nodes will start to be popping up in those regions. When you look at explorers, you don't see many dots just yet. And this is not something which can happen overnight. And after shipyard, Nym shipyard, which will be taking place this autumn, there will be a delegation program happening in Latin America, but not only, where we have Daniel, and we'll focus on this particular thing. We also talk a lot about Asia, Middle East, these places where, as you could see, running Telegram via Nym after Iraq banned the usage of Telegram was put out on a blog post by a community researcher and directly translated into, by the community in those places into Arabic and Kurdish. So this is something which will actually probably take much longer time, and giving the program we have for the months to come, it will definitely leak over the most of the next year as well.
Yeah, so I guess any of the three of us could answer this question because the big thing that is happening is the VPN release. So the Nym team, like we said, on multiple occasions, multiple platforms, multiple channels, we are dead focused on releasing Nym VPN. This is one of the biggest things that ever happened in the history of Nym. And then when it comes to the Delegators program, you may have seen our first iteration, which was a much smaller scale Delegators program that is currently running. So that was already implementing some measures to basically incentivize the proper geo spread and also VPS spread of the Nym mix. And it's very important to keep it decentralized. This also relates directly to the performance of the future Nym VPN, which is coming out soon, but also just generally, of course, the decentralization of the network, which is also very important. So like Sorinko said, we're going to have in 2 weeks, we're going to have our yearly face-to-face meeting. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is, of course, a roadmap update. So just like last year, I'm not committing to it yet because a few things need to happen before. Just like last year, I had a live stream with Harry about the roadmap. Some kind of a roadmap update should come out in the general vicinity of the Nym team meeting. Moving on to the next question. This is from Noders, Denver from Noders. It's good to see you, friend. So apparently there's an issue with Wireguard and OpenVPN accessing Russia, which Harry is aware of and asked if it was true. Unfortunately, it seems to be true, which is a bummer. So basically the question is what we could offer if this is the case. So if there are issues with Wireguard and OpenVPN access, what could we offer instead? Do you guys want to take this one? I don't know if you know the answer to this one. We can always just say Max is not here and move on to the next question.
I don't, unless Sorinko does.
Well, what we need to do is to be testing a lot how our stuff works and what technical primitives are needed to be, and like changes to be needed to be done for Russian speaking, like people who live in Russian Federation. We can imagine that not only there, the censorship is going to be growing. So I can say we get the new censorship measurement. I think it's pretty simple to run it. Let me check it out. I'll get the link for everyone. And it's not super easy. And maybe I would call out actually our community for an advice. If one runs a machine and wants to do this testing in another region, which is not a traditionally represented region in VPN providers or something, Iran, Ghana, China, Russian Federation, what have you, what are the toolings to kind of like move your machine look like you coming out in those countries and test that? Or even preferably make the community help privacy of the world by running this test in these different regions and share the file which gets generated through the test with the core team, so we can work on that, because that's why we're here, right? To bring the accessibility without leaking data to the internet, to communities all over the world.
Great answer. Anything to add there, Alexia? Nothing? Let's move on.
Nope.
Okie dokie. Moving on to the next question. We have hundreds of questions anyway, so it's good to rush a little bit. This one is from HRH Hez. When will NymConnect be available in mobile version? Really looking forward to this. That's a question that we get a lot. Do we have any answer for this? Crickets.
Not on my side, and I'm actually not sure unless there will be some delegation. Oh my God, I completely do the word. When community works on something and you provide them with reward. how the hell do you call it? Excuse my French.
Grants.
Grants. Yeah. So unless there'll be probably a granted team working with us on that, I'm worried that this might not be just about tomorrow, given like, the being focused on the product we've mentioned so many times. But again, it hasn't been my field of work. So Alexia, please correct me there.
Yeah, no, same for me. Like, I haven't focused on it too much, but in regards to the grants, what I can say is, so far for the community grants, we haven't granted a project that went in that direction specifically. As you know, or maybe you don't, we have Ade who joins for like take the lead on business development related activities, and it is possible that at some point she might help lead one of the programs that we may run. In this regard, perhaps like it's something that will be pushed through him. But again, as mentioned, Sarinko haven't focused too much on this. So apologies, but don't have a clear answer on that one.
All right. In the meantime, I'm looking for the next question. Maybe I'll just select one at random. Okay. All right. Maybe this is a good one from Marilonia, sorry. What are the challenges and obstacles that has been encountered in developing and scaling the Nym network, and particularly in the context of maintaining privacy? Are you guys too fresh for this one?
No, can you just reread it? Sorry.
Yeah, I was reading
the
question, sorry, I got stuck on a chat, if you can repeat.
Yeah, I've been doing that too. So what are the challenges and obstacles that have been encountered in developing and scaling the Nym network, particularly in the context of maintaining privacy?
I mean, you can start from like high level things. Oh, Alexia, go on. I've been actually talking a lot.
No,
go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. Well, the thing that I wanted to say is that there's always a problem between like sort of the depth of privacy that you want to provide and sort of the latency of your network. And I think like that's one of the main issues that we've been encountering and we're trying to solve. It's a little bit like that Azuka triangle in Web3. But yeah, so I mean, if we look at it from a tech perspective, I think like this will be the main thing. If you look at it more from a community perspective, the idea that from a marketing perspective, privacy is some sort of like negative problem that you're trying to solve. And also people don't really understand the value of privacy. So in order to sell or sustain your project from a financial perspective, it's quite challenging. And so you have to find incentives, and like that is the whole, like that's the main selling point of Nym. Basically, it's the idea that we are able to provide like at the best grade quality privacy, and also through an incentivized network, if that makes sense. So I think that would be my take on the question. But Sarinko, please feel free to add up some of your thoughts.
Okay, I think it's not only about like technical side. There's been, if you look even from a like high level on the financial question, right? You can put out a product which is free, but we can see how our project has been struggling with having, from some point onwards, really get more of operators who would run the nodes, and also like be only kind of open, especially for a new project at these times. It's not like we started 15 years ago. Be only relying on donation is quite difficult for the core team. So there is the question on a financial side for the operators, for the community, and for the developers and for the entire team for the operation. So then there's this incentive, but then that brings a problem on the technical side that, okay, say you're gonna just pay with Nym tokens for usage of NymConnect, and then all of a sudden, if somebody's gonna read what's happening on the validator side of a Nix chain and time that those payments together with who's paying that and how the validators run, then basically you can correlate the time and the size of the payments, and all of a sudden the mixnet purpose will kind of become a bit slightly empty because you can get quite some data on how the payments are going. So on the technical side, it's been maybe like one of the high level question, which does get resolved through ZK and credentials through like using the coconut scheme, and now in the last blog post, which I'll share right here as well.
So Sarinko, can I stop you for a second? That's fascinating what you just said, but I don't fully understand it. Can you expand on it a little bit? Like how does this work? This correlation thing?
If every time I mix a megabyte of my data, gonna pay whatever, I will say something to make it easy. Don't get me on numbers, please. I'll pay one Nym for every megabyte of my data directly. You get into a very basic problem that you can at least start to see that, okay, a given user and that at that second paid that amount of Nyms, hence actually sent or received this amount of megabytes, which got solved by, instead of paying directly on chain, we brought the ZK credentials, right? The anonymous eCache. I'm gonna drop now here. And that's one of the challenges, how to make the incentive versus not make leakage of your usage of that mixnet through the actual payment. Because then the incentive and the payment would kind of like go against your main goal, and that's the privacy. So how to pay with tokens without leaking your identity. There is quite a progress in developing anonymous offline eCache using zero-knowledge cryptography, which, you know, I don't want to go deeper into about because that's way beyond my field. I'm dropping some links here. And just to pop this question, on scaling, it's also the same problem. Like the growth, like, yes, you want to be accessible for anyone, anywhere, and, you know, perfect eventually. But then you want to make sure it's like a decentralization. So like if you just open for anyone to spin the node, especially in the beginning, and there is not this like social relation through delegation, it's actually not going to be really decentralized because the most adversary agencies will just like jump in and will take over your network. So the scaling traditional crypto problem. Another one I would say is like a cultural, right? It's not necessarily tech, but like a cultural problem. You got core community. Those are people who come from Linux background, have been using all different privacy, anonymity, and decentralization technology and are like immersed in the culture themselves. But then to get outside of the bubble, you need to bring a certain marketing, whether it's on Web3 or more quote-unquote normie type of language, which is not often what the core community who's been in for quite some time like really likes to hear or really likes to see. So to find balance between those so one doesn't push away the others, it's not necessarily a technical problem, but it is a very important question like every project like Nym needs to resolve in order to be able to keep the mission clear and not have a mission creep and keep the original community close without, you know, also not keep away or push away the people who are new and just like our everyday users.
Thanks for that answer. Moving on to the next one. Okay, this is a good one. I'll just pick. They asked 3 questions. Gozi Tego asked 3 questions. I'm just gonna ask one of them because I think it's a good one. So, what are some or the major misconceptions? Okay, so what misconceptions people have about Nym? What are the biggest ones? I can start. So one of them is that the Nym token is a privacy coin, which it's not. So the Nym token is not like Monero or Zcash, which provide transactional privacy. The Nix blockchain is completely transparent in the sense that you can see transactions very easily. It's the Nym mixnet that gets you privacy, which is a bit different. That's not network layer privacy rather than transactional privacy. And the other is, I don't know about any other ones. Alexia, do you know about misconceptions when it comes to Nym?
I guess, I mean, the one that you cited is the main one. I think that people have a hard time understanding exactly what Nym is. And I think like it's important to mention that we are a privacy infrastructure. We're not like a private chain or anything like that. Like our main, like we are composed of, you know, we're made up of different technological components, mainly 4. I mean, that's how I usually introduce our infrastructure. We have a mixnet, which is a type of technology which basically allows you to obfuscate communications at network level. So it's literally like layer 0, which means like the mixnet is chain agnostic. It can be, you know, integrated into any dApp, whether Web3 or traditional. We have a blockchain, which is called Nix, which is based on the Cosmos SDK, and which we use to incentivize the network, basically. And on that chain, we have the Nym token, which Sudo was talking about a little bit previously, which we mostly use to pay for usage. And this is something that Serinko discussed, and we do this through the ZK Nyms, which are based on something called Coconut, which is basically a zero-knowledge signature scheme. So basically, ZK Nyms derive or are based on Coconut. And yeah, so, I mean, Nym is a privacy infrastructure. I think that's important to understand, which means that it can be integrated with both traditional projects and Web3 projects. That would be my answer, I guess.
Jolie's asking many questions. First question to you. Let's make a quick fire round. What problem is Nym trying to solve?
Well, the fact that in any existing app, there's always like metadata leakage, and that's why we approach it with the idea that we want to be layer 0 privacy infrastructure to really sort of tackle that issue.
That was a very concise answer.
I am straight to the point.
Yes, sometimes. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Please don't be mad. Please don't be mad.
No, I won't, I promise.
How is Nym different from other privacy projects?
Wide question. It depends on what type of privacy projects we're talking about, right? But I think like if you look at it from like using the answer that I gave before, which is like we are a privacy infrastructure, and I think we differ because like we're quite agnostic in terms of the industries that we can provide a solution to. Like it's not like we're necessarily directly linked with the Web3 industry or the traditional industry, but actually like both, because we solve the issue of metadata leakage at a network level, which means that anything that uses a network can basically be integrated with a mixnet, which basically means any transactions that happen, any communications, variety of projects that we can approach or tackle is pretty wide. And I think that's going to be your mission in the coming months. First is identifying with the different resources that we currently have, the path that we want to take, and then see, like what makes more sense at this stage. And I don't know if it's really clear to the community, but with this, the introduction of the VPN, we're kind of shifting from our initial approach, which was quite B2B oriented in terms of providing privacy primitives for builders. And the VPN is going to be more B2C oriented, since we're going to enter a more traditional market and tackle people who need to solve a tradi like VPN sort of issue. So yeah, I think that's how we differ. It's not like we're not a privacy L1. We're not, as you said, like a privacy oriented token. Like we leverage different technological components, put them together in a big infrastructure, provide different clients, different SDK that people and builders can use, and also now have started providing products on top, like that are built on top of our infrastructure, namely the Nym VPN, for people to use.
All right, that was less concise, but still a very good answer. I'm proud.
Yeah,
of you.
I'm trying to make you happy, Sudo. So, adding a little sparkles here and there to make sure, like,
Very hard job. I'm a very grumpy person, as you know.
Not easy. I'm an introvert, Sudo. Be easy on me.
All right. Wait, I once again, I saw an amazing question, but then I lost it. All right, no, here it is. So Think here is asking, will there be more funding rounds in Nym or like for Nym? That's an interesting question. I will, even without...
question. I honestly don't know. I mean, this is something that Harry has been is directly involved in. I know he's, meeting with our investors quite regularly. I don't think that's the plan, to be honest. I think that the introduction of the VPN and sort of like focusing on generating revenue directly from our users is something that is the route that we're going to follow, rather than depending on investor money, basically, if that makes sense.
You gave the exact same answer I wanted to give. That's theft. I will report you to the authorities. I don't know how you knew, but that's... Neither of us know.
Yeah.
Neither of us know, obviously.
Maybe let's say it like this. We are failing to make ourselves understand that Nym is not just like another VPN kind of company out there, right? But at the same time, those who do understand that, we're failing to make understand that it's not just like an extension to some app. So a question arrives as such as, okay, is it a Web3 thing? And if it's Web3, is it layer 1? Is it layer 2? Or is it a crypto thing? Or is it actually Web2 or Web3 thing? And then I think the answer on like, no, we are agnostic to any of these layers, because what we talk about is how the internet works, right? So it's the layer under the layer 0. And I think this is one of the main messages we gotta put forward again, and more clear and simple. How does that work, and why is that so? How is the difference from a classic one point moving to trust somewhere else VPN, as well? How is the difference from very specific one purpose only application type of thing?
Those were actually really good ones.
A few days actually already merged, and we just trying to figure out how comes that in Dev Portal, these brilliant and clear lines, which Alexia mostly wrote as a reply to community questions, just had to figure out that. How comes that the branches merged, but it's still not in those books? But because we also changed the entire new website, as you all have seen. Actually, we didn't put that in updates yet. We have a new website.
We did.
We did? Okay.
Alexia mentioned that.
My bad. Let's go on.
And not to brag, guys, but our new website is pretty amazing, if I do say so myself. So make sure to check it out. It's nymtech.net. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on it for quite some time. I'm not me specifically, but other people on the Nym team. And I think it was really worth the wait. Next question. This is a good one. So ID QuickVex, I think that's how to pronounce this, is asking, You say Nym nodes may soon be upgraded to have functionality similar to Tor exit nodes. What does this exactly mean? The Nym mixnet routes data through nodes in a series of hops, but Tor exit nodes are just the last nodes that Tor traffic is routed through. So are all Nym nodes going to be able to be the last hop or what? I'm a bit confused on that. So just a primer before I let you guys speak about this. We just put out to our node operators a document of some planned changes and also a feedback form, which is very much related to both Project Smoosh, which came up earlier during this AMA, and also this change to, well, this question does not mention that, but we're also going to be likely changing from a whitelist model to a blacklist model. Maybe let's talk the community through what these things mean.
The feeling that I have from the question is that it kind of tackles both sides of things, as in both Project Smoosh and the change from the whitelist to the deny list. I mean, if we look at the current path of how things are working, it's like you have to imagine your own client, you talk to a gateway, then the gateway opens up to the mixnet, you have mixnode 1, 2, and 3, and then it goes through an exit gateway and network requester. What Smoosh is doing is basically, as we've mentioned before, smooshing together the last gateway and the exit gateway and the network requester. The idea is that the ultimate plan would be like you just have your client, then first gateway and the first mixnode are smooshed together. You have the second mixnode, and then the last three things, mixnode 3, gateway, and network requester together, right? The fact that we're also approaching it from, a Tornall perspective, from the allow list to the deny list, also, I guess, makes it closer to what Tor could be. So I guess that's how I read the question, if that makes any sense. But I don't know if Serene or Suda, you want to add up to that. I mean, I honestly haven't followed the active developments of it because I've been focusing mostly on the GS SDK. But from the discussions that I've had, and I've had a few catch-ups with Andrew, who's actively working on that, that's what I got.
I can take off from here, yes. Project Smoosh everything's under discussion as always, but it's going to have 2 steps in which first is exactly what Alexia was sharing, and second, to make every node being able to play any of those roles. That does not mean that every node will become an exit relay, but there is a discussion and kind of like a roadmap towards that. We still have to talk that through because that has a lot of legal issues, not only the technical ones, if every node will be able to perform as the gateway as well, network requester, mixed node, what have you. But yes, the first step will be to connect the network requester gateway in more like a node, which can be one or the other, or like play a role like one. There is, I want to make a little maybe point on clarification on the language, because when one here, now we do allow list and we move into something like a deny list, at least my first reaction as non-native English speakers, like from allow to deny, right? It kind of sounds like, like you actually going kind of like exclusive way. Basically, it means that now NymConnect application or your 6.5 client, what have you, depends what setup you run, can connect and support only those services which are on allow list. You can see that also in the app itself, whether it's Telegram, Metrics, some messaging services or some wallets, their wallet or Bitcoin Electrum, what have you. And that move is from having everything allowed by default and have only some malicious and known, like harmfully known services which are not allowed. So that's actually by many multitudes opening the possibilities going towards using a service for the entire internet. And we also keep discussing how like the model will be made, because there is a lot of questions around that. There's probably gonna be something like a combination of what Tors have like reduced exit policies of out lists. There's also another point, is this Tornall's deny list that's like under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 in the US. And there's a whole nother sets of lists which we also looking through. So I think definitely to be discussed and to be discussed with the community, in particular with the operators who's been already active in the community, with the legal councils and teams. And for that, we also bringing up the Nym community legal forum, which will be on operators book. And then, of course, all these channels which we have, such as Discord, Telegram, and what have you, Element in particular.
And I would like to add to this 2 things. One is that the change from the allow list to the deny list is going to be optional. So we already know that, just so you guys know. And also the fact that I just wanted to thank everybody who provided feedback with the survey, the exit node survey. It was really invaluable. So please, if you operate a node and if you have an opinion about this, then make sure to fill out that form, because it really is important for us to receive your feedback at this point of the lifespan of the project. Now, I think we're almost bumping up against the end of this AMA. So this will maybe the last question, depending on how long the answer is going to be. Actually, let's do it this way. I'm going to answer the question, and then you guys will expand on my answer and explain why my answer is so.
I like
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. You get.
Are you ready? All right. So,
Yeah.
will Nym cooperate with the FBI if they demand user data? My answer is we can't. It's literally impossible. And now our tech people should explain in detail why that is. Whoever wants to go first.
You know, but you know why? Because no trust, verify.
Nice one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we literally do not connect like any user data, like literally zero. And that's the whole point and the essence of our project. And I don't think like, I mean, if we were, none of us would be working here.
Yeah, the code is our language. Like that's, I think it's like the essential rule that, you know, you put it out there. It's all open source, and there might be different things with different tricks, and sometimes things come with pain, but I want to say that this is the essential thing, that whatever is going to be happening, no core team founder, anyone like that can just like push the button and reveal things. That is the core mission and practice of everything we do. This is impossible.
Exactly. So not to bash on VPNs too hard, but when you sign up for a VPN, in most cases, you are, putting trust in a VPN provider. So there's no other way, right? They tell you that, hey, we pinky promise we're not going to share your data with anybody. We're not going to sell it. And, if the FBI contacts us, we won't say anything, although a lot of VPN providers don't actually say that. But, it's just their pinky promise, and you don't have any way to verify that. Or in the case of the Nym mixnet, it's very much part of the design, right? So no one party, the Nym mixnet is made up right now of about 600 mixed nodes last time I checked. Also a ton of gateways and a lot of other types of nodes as well. So none of those parties, none of those players on the network know anything more about who's communicating with whom and what the packet contains, any more than they need to just serve their very specific purpose on the network. So even if someone wanted to give out user information to anybody or just gather user information in any way, it would have to defeat a system which was built specifically so that cannot happen. So this is why I'm confident that we will not be able to, as much as we would want to, of course. We love the FBI, but we would unfortunately not be able to provide them with any user data.
Very diplomatically said. I'm not going to comment on that one. I think this was a great period, full stop of maybe today's DevRel, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. But I just put that FBI part at the end for the officers who are listening to me right now so that they don't go through my browser history. Please don't do that.
Don't worry about that.
All right, fine. That's good enough for me. Any closing thoughts, my beautiful, almost complete DevRel team, except for Max, who's not here today?
She's abandoned us. No,
Yes.
I mean, it was lovely to be here. Great audience today. We had a bunch of super interesting questions. It's always great to have community feedback, and that's how we learn, and we constantly iterate and we try to improve ourselves and the projects that we work on. We have some very exciting stuff coming from the community, stuff that we had through the grants program. And hopefully, we'll be able to give you a little bit more details during the next AMA. But yeah, thank you, Sudo. It was amazing. Thank you, community.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, as always.
I'll have 3 closing points. One, I hope that, Max will be able to be proud about how we carry on this AMA, and will know that he can actually much more relax and focus on the things he is advancing at and he's senior at, and we can cover some of these without him being stressed about it. 2, any feedback, reflection, and critique is actually very welcome, especially if it's a constructive one. The more of that makes our project and our mission altogether stronger. So I want to make all of you community operators and people in there make sure that we bring that back in a constructive way. And 3, code is power.
Those are very beautiful closing thoughts, Sarinko. Good job. I will show this recording to Max, and yeah, it will definitely bring tears to his eyes. So good job. Yeah, and then we can say goodbye. Big thanks for the audience today. Thanks for joining the Nym DevRel AMA. As usual, this was recorded, so you Notice the recording bots in the audience, Craig and Giark. So it will be at some point uploaded to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for that. Like Sorinko said, it was a really good point. Please, if you have any feedback about anything that we do, including these DevRel AMAs, let us know. You can DM me or just drop your feedback on the state chat, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that so that we can improve in the future. And have a lovely, lovely day, everyone. Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.